Welcome to the Side Cemetery in its 60th season. It celebrates Seminole wins against the crowd and against the odds when no one gave FSU much of a chance. When you're near Doak Campbell, we hope you'll drop by and visit the cemetery. You can press the button and you can hear from former Seminole players who tell you about their days in bringing home the side for victory and for burial. Side Talk, connecting Seminole fans with Seminole legends.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you, Travis Johnson, my Seminole signing day teammate, class of 2000, for joining me for this episode of Florida State's Sod Talk. Travis Johnson is a guy I've been knowing since, 1999. We actually took our trip to Florida State together, and it's a pleasure to be able to share this spotlight with my guy. Trap, how you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right, but I wish somebody would have gave me the memo and told me I was supposed to wear a Florida State something on here, because I'd have been happy to go put one of those on right now.
Listen, it's a written rule. Anytime you do anything Florida State related, you gotta rep the Seminole head. You gotta rep the garnet and gold. You know that.
Well, I know, but dang, dog. I mean, do I got time? Can we pause it and I go throw something on? Like, I feel like I'm lost right now.
Don't worry about it. Everybody know you bleed garnet and gold. We all know that. But like I said, you were part of that 2000 recruiting class. Considered one of the best defensive players in the country, right? You had every university knocking down your door trying to land your services for their football team. But why did you decide to go to Florida State?
Well, I mean, one, because you kept paging me all day long and kind of got me thinking differently about Michigan. But, you know, in the end, man, I knew in order to become the man I wanted to become, I had to challenge myself. And everywhere else, if I'd have gone to Michigan, I would have started as a freshman. USC, UCLA, Tennessee, all those places I would have started as a true freshman. And Florida State was the only place that told me, man, you're going to be third team. You might never play. I recruited you last year. I'll recruit you again next year. I'll recruit you the year after that. Basically saying we're going to go get the top guy year after year after year and deciding on if you play, it's on you. And I think I took that challenge. You know, me and you were on our visit there during bowl week preparing for the Virginia Tech game. And I remember seeing a fight happen under the ends between offensive line, defensive line. I'm like, man, it smelled different out here. It looked different out here. These guys love football a little bit different because I had seen so many practices at UCLA, USC, and none of them were to this caliber.
And you talked about playing with, recruiting some of the best players in the country. Remind some of our viewers, some of the guys you played with, not just entirely on the entire defense, but let's just highlight the defensive line group, right? Remind our viewers some of the big name players you played with on the defensive line.
It was me, Darnell Doggett, Broderick Bunkley, Andre Fluelling, Chauncey Davis, Eric Moore,
Cameron Wembley.
The list goes on. The best one of us all was Clifton Dixon. You know, and you know, his off the field trouble got to him and in the classroom. But our defensive line room was second to none. You know, they were, I look back and say, who are some of the greatest defensive lines you've seen in the history of college football? You think about Haynesworth and Henderson. You think about Stroud and Seymour. Well, you got to think about Travis Johnson, Darnell Doggett as well. When you put those names together, when it comes to college football, and I just felt like every day, what was a test. Every day, it wasn't about am I the starter. It was about what am I going to do with the plays I get. If I play 30% of the plays, I'm gonna make me some stuff to where they got to be like, man, we got to get this guy more plays. And like I know, when I was there for the first couple of years, I might have played 30 to 40% of the snaps. And one year was second on team in tackle for loss. 2 of those years second on team tackle for loss before I became a starter. And I think that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure when I stepped on the field, everybody knew what I was because I was representing for Cali. We were known as a soft bunch, man, and I just wanted to make sure I came and showed them what type of toughness we had and showed them, not everybody from Cali is soft.
All the guys you mentioned on the defensive line, you all had the same common denominator attached to your career at Florida State, Coach Odell Higgins. Tell us a little bit about what he meant to you throughout your time in Tallahassee.
Man, Odell's like a father figure to me, bro. Like, I mean, you got to remember, once again, like I said before, being a California kid, I wasn't able to go home like everybody else was, during all the holidays. So if I didn't go home with you down in South Florida, Odell kind of was, was the guy I spent all my holidays with. I spent more Thanksgivings with Odell from the year 2000 to 2005 than I spent with my own mother and father. You know what I mean? I learned how to fish. And the reason why my son now loves to fish is because of Odell. I mean, the things that he did, and even early on, he might not have been a X's and O's type of guy, but he's a technique guy. And when I got to the league, my technique was second to none. The way I use my hands, the way I position everything, like it was what it needed to be, and it all started and finished with Odell.
Talking about Coach Odell, both of us had the luxury of playing with other legendary like coaches, Mickey Andrews, Bobby Bowden. Do you have any quality sound memories that you can share with us in regards to the late great Bobby Bowden or Mickey Andrews?
Oh man, I you know what? I just remember, two things. I remember Andrews. You remember this spring? I'm thinking I having a great spring practice. I had 2 sacks. Man, I was over there I was like, man, I'm in my bag. I'm doing it. And I remember Mickey at the end of practice was like, God damn it, Travis, I'm gonna send your ass back to California on a Greyhound bus, you and your bushy effing hair. And I'm like, dang, man, why you talking to me like that? And I remember knocking on the coach's door. Like, hey, man, you need to holler at me. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't been talking to me like you talk to these other guys, Rufus Brown, Stanford Samuels, the way you talk to them dudes. You finna holler at me. And he was like, and he broke it out and said, man, I just expect more from you. I expect you to be great. I expect you to do this, man. We recruited you. We spent all this money coming to California to get you. We need you to play. And then I remember Coach Bowden, man, Coach Bowden always, everybody knows Coach Bowden always told jokes, when he started his conversations, either with us or, when you go to FCA. And I remember we were sitting there at the national championship game our freshman year against Oklahoma. We were at that FCA breakfast. And Coach Bowden starts it off. He's like, yeah, man, I recruited a guy, he's a big-time recruit. He said, man, I went all the way out to the West Coast to get him. And, I know he wasn't talking about me, it's just a joke. And he goes, man, this guy, I tell him, God came to him and said, you want to go to heaven, you want to go to hell. And they were like, huh? Everybody's like, what does this got to do with God and going to heaven? He said, well, I took him on a visit to heaven. Everybody played equal amount of playing time. Everybody, you sat there, everybody was kumbaya. He said, then I took him down to hell. You started as a freshman. You do this, you do that, you do this. I mean, you're All-American. And the guy said, man, well, I want to go to hell. He said, the guy said, what, you want to go to hell? He said, yeah, I want to go to hell. So you get down there and all of a sudden, he said, all of a sudden it's hellfire and brimstone, man. You're locked up, you're chained to the wall, you're not playing, you're not doing any of that. The girls that you saw you visit wasn't there. And he said, and I said, man, what happened to all the girls in the start as a freshman? He said, man, you was just on your recruiting visit. Now it's real life. I just that joke is saying like, man, everybody else will tell you one thing. But one thing about Coach Bowden, man, was he was always real and always true to to the program and to all of us. And you got the playing time you deserve all the time.
Talking about playing time, one game I would like to highlight with you in regards to you as an individual and how monumental that game was to all of us. Let's go back to our junior year, 2003, last game of the season against Florida. We go into that ball game ranked number 9. They were ranked number 11, right? Granted, we were ranked higher than them, but of course, it's a rival. We don't like them. They don't like us. We ended up winning that ball game 38-34. And we also won the ball game within the ball game, and we won the fight that happened at the end. But
yes, we did.
Talk us through that play, that game-winning touchdown pass from Chris Ritz to PK Sam, and just the hate that you had for Florida and making that victory even much more sweeter for us to win it the way we won it.
Well, I mean, for one, you remember that pass, and it was a hard-fought game. I remember that game we had Kendall Pope spying Chris Leak the entire game to where he was sideline to sideline with that guy all game long. I remember the fight. But what's crazy is like my junior year was kind of a struggle, because I had gotten in that trouble during the offseason, And, I went from being a starter. We played Georgia, like the year before our redshirt sophomore year, man, I balled the entire year, had a second, third round grade to come out in the draft, and decided to go back to school, got in some trouble, came back and not the starter at my position anymore. You know what I mean? Kind of, I still look back thinking they might have punished me a little bit, but I understood what it was. Odell saw that I could play 3 technique and be better at the 3 than I was at the nose. And so all year it had been kind of a struggle. And that year, I was just like, oh, man, I can't wait for this to hurry up and be over with, And that game, man, we fought hard. We got everything through. Chris throws that pass to PK. PK almost get eat up by the German Shepherd behind the dang end zone.
Police dog.
And we jumping on the F in the middle of the field. Woo, woo. And then this guy come out of nowhere. And before you know, like I'm sitting there trying to find my cousin because a lot of people don't know my cousin Max Starks played in Florida. So I'm trying to find him while we whooping. And all of a sudden, I see Doc like get stolen on. I see Doc get stolen on. So now I'm over there choking this guy that stole on Doc. And Doc done pulled somebody out of somewhere and he's beating them up. Now we in there. We just throwing blows left and right. It was because it was one of those things that you talk about, and they still show it every year. Every year Florida State play Florida, they show that fight. And I remember winning that fight because I'm like, you know what? I'll be John Brown if you think we finna lose this fight in the middle of the field, especially after Miami to whoop these boys with nothing but they freshmen on Bourbon Street the year before. Mm-hmm. We finna come out here and establish dominance. And like Coach say, man, win the fourth quarter. Hold them on the 3 yards. Hold them on the 100-yard rushing. But we won all of those battles that day. And then for the extra one, that took an extra gasser off for us that week, was winning the fight after the game.
No question. No question. You know how it is. We don't like them. They don't like us. Let it be known. But yes, that 2003 Florida game, the way it ended, it was sweet. It was sweet all the way around. Last question before you, Travis, before I let you go. To you personally, what did it mean to be a Seminole?
Speaking of Seminole, that was another Seminole calling me right now in Monterey Holland. But when you speak about being a Seminole, it's the unconquered spirit, man. And I remember going down there, and you remember on our visit, man, how much love they showed us, and all those guys, the mentality those guys all had. But then when we got there, I remember our true freshman year being in Miami in 2000, 115 degrees on the field, and I remember we were down, and I looked to my left, and I saw another guy I forgot to mention on the D-line, Alonzo Jackson, second-round pick with Pittsburgh Steelers. Alonzo Jackson, he goes, man, as long as we wearing this garnet and gold, we don't lose. You know what I mean? And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, man, that's a mentality to have. And then when I used to watch us, fight and claw for extra reps. You remember we need more reps. We used to always want more reps. Everybody wanted more reps in practice. I think so. Being a Seminole, man, taught me how to finish and be unconquered. It taught me how to no matter what the adversity is. When I went through that adversity in early 2003, how to fight back through that and become a winner. How to fight back and become a first-round pick. How to fight back and become a good father. How to fight back and just scratch and claw for everything we got. And I think that was the biggest thing that Florida State taught me was how to finish. We used to have that. We used to have a sign over the practice field that said finish. And it also showed us, and on the other side of that sign, when we still had the tunnel, it said attitude. And then it was like, and attitude is contagious. And it was like, is yours worth catching? And I think it taught me how to have a great attitude when I approach things, how to finish the drill more than anything else. And it just taught me how to be a better person. I think, the best ability is accountability and reliability. And Florida State taught me that, man. It taught me how to be that guy, man, how to finish and how to just be the man I'm supposed to be. Coach Andrews always told you, I promise your mama that I'll make you a better man, when you leave. And every day you get 2% better to be that man when it's time to leave. And I think that's what Florida State taught me.
Well said, my guy. Well said, man. No other than the great Travis Johnson joining me for this episode of SODTALK. 2000 signee, #1 defensive lineman in America, former first-round pick by the Houston Texans, also played for at that time, the San Diego Chargers, and my road dog, my brother from another mother. Travis, thank you for joining me. Best of luck to you and all your endeavors. And the next time I have you on, already what you got to be rocking.
Oh, I'm gonna put it up. You see, I got my helmet in the background right here for everybody to see. Just because I want them to know the Tomahawk Don is in the building, man. So go Noles, get them.
Go Noles.